Malaysia records highest ever number of COVID-19 recovery cases. Health Ministry well prepared to face COVID-19 third wave. Good evening, thanks for joining us. You're watching News at 10. I'm Jessica Lee. Now for the COVID-19 updates, Malaysia recorded its highest ever number of recovered cases in 24 hours, following the Health Ministry's MOH reporting 1,405 discharged today. Now this is also higher than the number of new cases today, which is 1,041. According to Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Noor Hisham, Selangor recorded the most cases today at 402. This followed by Sabah with 346 cases and Negeri Sembilan, 121 cases. Meanwhile, 108 cases are currently being treated in intensive care units or ICUs, with 45 of them requiring respiratory aid. MOH also recorded 3 new deaths, and the current death toll is at 332. Now, in the ensuing battle against COVID-19, the Health Ministry has set up additional health facilities to screen, test and hospitalize COVID-19 patients. Now, Tan Sri Dr. Noor Hisham Abdullah said these health facilities are able to accommodate the rising numbers of COVID-19 positive cases. In a special media briefing at Putrajaya, Tan Sri Dr. Noor Hisham said that the Health Ministry is now capable to conduct 59,485 tests in a day compared to only 1,000 before this.
Keseluruhannya, kita ada 120 hospital yang boleh menjalankan saringan kepada kes-kes yang disyaki COVID-19 dan ada 47 hospital yang boleh merawat pesakit-pesakit COVID dan 7 hospital khas untuk pesakit COVID saja. Contohnya hospital Sungai Buloh untuk pesakit COVID saja. Dan kita ada 5,439 katil keseluruhannya di hospital, 500 katil untuk katil ICU dan pada peringkat gelombang kedua kita cuba mendapatkan banyak lagi alat bantuan pernafasan. Jadi ketika itu amat mencabar untuk dapatkan alat bantuan pernafasan. Setakat ni kita tak ada masalah, kita ada 1,553 alat bantuan pernafasan untuk seluruh negara. Jadi dan juga kita ada 72 pusat kuarantin dan rawatan risiko rendah dan keseluruhannya kita ada 12,102 katil di pusat kuarantin tersebut. Dan kalau kita lihat keseluruhannya kita ada 17,541 katil untuk menampung pesakit-pesakit yang dikesan positif COVID-19.
Now, effective last midnight, the Conditional Movement Control Order CMCO was implemented throughout Kelantan. In accordance to this, 19 roadblocks have been set up by the relevant authorities. Kelantan Police Chief DCP Shafian Mamar informed that every district will have from 1 to 3 roadblocks depending on the respective borders. For the current CMCO, Machang is the main focus due to the presence of the Mengketil cluster, which had rapidly spread to several other districts previously classified as green zones.
Yang mustahak sekarang ini pergerakan di daerah Machang ini adalah kawasan yang hotspot bagi PKPB kali ini. Dan saya juga menyeru kepada penduduk khususnya di daerah Machang ini supaya lebih prihatin, lebih komited dalam kita menangani dan memutuskan rantaian COVID-19.
Yesterday, the government decided to impose the CMCO in Kelantan, which will last until the 6th of December. Following this, residents in Kelantan are required to comply with the determined standard operating procedures. The police nabbed 455 individuals for violating the Standard Operating Procedures or SOPs under the Recovery Movement Control Order RMCO yesterday. Senior Ministers of Security, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob, said of the number, 427 were slapped with compounds, another 27 were remanded, and 1 was released on bail. In a statement today, he said the offences include failure to practice physical distancing, engaging in activities at entertainment outlets, failure to wear face masks, failure to provide materials to record visitors' details, travelling inter-district and interstate concerning states under the Conditional Movement Control Order or CMCO without permission, and others. The arrests were made during 59,602 inspections conducted by the task force on SOP compliance at various public places yesterday. Meanwhile, 28 illegal immigrants and 1 smuggler were detained while 3 land vehicles were seized during the ongoing ops painting yesterday. On quarantine measures, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri said 72,062 Malaysians returned from abroad between 24th of July and yesterday. Of the total, 10,396 are undergoing mandatory quarantine, while 404 were sent to hospitals for treatment. He added that a total of 61,262 individuals were discharged and allowed to return home. The returnees arrived from 36 countries. A 16-year-old girl became the latest and 6th victim to die from the rabies disease in Sarawak this year. According to Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah, the case is the 28th since rabies outbreak was declared in Sarawak on the 31st of July 2017. In a statement, he informed that a teenager had been admitted into the Sarawak General Hospital on the 10th of November after 3 days of fever, fatigue in the lower body and showing signs of aggression. She died at the hospital on 11th of November. The teenager was confirmed to have been infected with rabies virus on the 12th of November following laboratory tests conducted by the Medical Research Institute. She had no history of dog or any other animal bites. However, she had some healed scratch marks on the right leg, but her family members could not give details about this. Dr. Nur Hisham said deaths due to rabies infection could be prevented by washing the bitten body part with running water and soap for 15 minutes to get rid of traces of saliva before seeking immediate medical treatment. Now, the Sabah state government has decided to impose a temporary entry ban for long-term visit pass holders from 23 countries. Now, Sabah's local government and housing minister, Datuk Masidi Manjun, said the decision superseded the previous temporary ban on only 3 countries, namely India, Indonesia and the Philippines. Among the countries included in the list banned from entering Sabah are the United States, India, Russia, United Kingdom, Saudi Arabia and Indonesia. Datuk Masidi said long-term visit passes that are not allowed to enter Sabah are those with permanent residency or PR, Malaysia My Second Home Program passes, expatriate passes, study passes, professional visit passes, dependent pass holders, passes of husbands or wives to citizens, student passes, temporary employment passes. The travel ban also involved other foreign nationals residing in or having a long-term visit pass in the affected countries. However, the pass holders can enter the state by obtaining the approval of the Director General of Malaysia's Immigration Department, and they are subjected to guidelines for entry into Sabah. Datuk Masidi added exceptions will be given to eligible diplomats under the exemption order and their dependents. Ship's crew to carry out sign-on or joint ship and sign-off activities, as well as crew and professional workers in the oil and gas industry, are also granted permission to enter the state. Relief workers and flood victims seeking shelter at temporary flood evacuation centres or PPS have been advised to adhere to the standard operating procedures or SOPs. Now, Deputy Health Minister Datuk Dr. Nur Azmi Ghazali said this includes physical distancing, adding that there are concerns that the SOPs would not be taken seriously at the centres.
Tapi kita diri sendiri ni kena jaga. Di tempat yang macam ni, sebenarnya luas kawasan ni. sebenarnya luas kawasan ni. Jadi kita jarakkan diri kita. Di samping tu, macam saya nak kata tadi, agensi yang terlibat kat sini, tolong ingatkan kita lagi. Tolong ingatkan semua peserta-peserta yang ni, rakyat yang terkesan dengan banjir ni, supaya jaga. Jangan duduk kelompok, jangan duduk sembang rapat-rapat. Ini benar penting.
He said this when handing out aid to 142 flood victims from 60 families seeking shelter at SK Parit Haji Aman, Bagansarai, Perak today. In another development, Datuk Dr. Nur Rasmi, who is also Bagansarai MP, said screenings have been done on a group of foreign workers in Felda Gunung Besut, where cases of filariasis, a parasitic disease, have been detected. 4 workers there have tested positive for the disease so far, and they are currently undergoing treatment. Besides screening tests done on the workers, the Health Ministry has also conducted a risk assessment and found that Felda Gunung Besut and its surrounding areas had vectors capable of spreading the disease. Datuk Dr. Nur Azmi said the ministry will also screen the local community in Gunung Besut to ensure that they are free from the disease. Despite maintaining the number of temporary relief centres or PPS at 4 in Perak, the amount of flood victims in Perak has reportedly increased. Now, as of 12 noon earlier today, 246 individuals were placed in PPS compared to 227 previously. According to a State Disaster Management Committee Secretariat spokesperson, 147 individuals from 60 families from 9 villages were placed in PPS SK Parit Haji Aman Bagansarai. Meanwhile, 34 individuals from 10 families in Kampung Sungai Rentaka were evacuated to PPS Sekolah Rendah Agama Rakyat Nga Ibrahim Matang. In Kampung Sungai Ara, 55 individuals from 15 families were placed in PPS Dewan Orang Ramai Kampung Sungai Ara, Batu Kurau. Furthermore, in Hilir, Perak, 15 individuals from 5 families were placed in Dewan MPTI Langkap. Authorities are constantly monitoring flood conditions and carrying out necessary measures. Over in Melaka, the number of new individuals affected by floods as of 12 noon earlier is 181. This is a decrease compared to 243 reported yesterday. 252 affected individuals were placed in 3 PPS. 2 PPS are still in operation, which are PPS SK Tehel in Jasin as well as PPS SK Durian Tunggal in Alugajah. Meanwhile, according to Secretary General of the State Disaster Management Committee, Lieutenant Colonel Effendi Ali, the PPS in SMK Dang Anum Jasin was closed at 10 a.m. However, another PPS had to be opened in Alugajah, which is the PPS Balai Raya Kampung Gadek, in which 4 affected residents were placed. Price hike of Indian red onions in the market was due to the supply disruption as the country is struggling with flood crisis. Deputy Minister of Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs, Datuk Rasul Wahid, said, however, only India's red onion price is affected, while prices of other imported onions will remain the same. Elaborating further on the matter, Datuk Rasul said that consumers have the options to buy onions imported from other countries if the price of India's red onions becomes too expensive.
Tapi rakyat ada pilihan lain, pengguna ada pilihan lain. Kita ada bawang yang diimport daripada Thailand, yang diimport daripada Pakistan, yang diimport daripada Indonesia pun ada sedikit. Jadi boleh pilih. Tapi kadang-kadang masyarakat kita nak juga bawang India. Jadi berarti kita ada alternatif. Kata orang tidak ada gading, tanduk pun berguna.
Datuk Rasul added the ministry is currently working on alternatives from other countries in exchange for the commodity. In another development, Datuk Rasul assured that the food supply for the upcoming monsoon season is more than enough and wholesalers can store up to 30% of food commodities to avoid any disturbance to the supply chain.
Yang kita namakan Dedicated Direct Wholesaler, DDW, Dedicated Direct Wholesaler. Kita beri kebenaran untuk menyimpan lebih daripada yang biasa. Contohnya kalau dalam masa sebulan ia boleh simpan gandum 100 tan. Sekarang musim banjir atau musim tergujur ni kita benar sehingga 130 tan.
The Deputy Minister said other steps taken to ensure steady supply chain are monitoring retailers at all levels, engagement with manufacturers and importers. Now, the government has not ruled out the possibility of expanding the ban on the sale of liquor at sundry and grocery shops, convenience stores, as well as Chinese medicine shops to other states besides the federal territories. Now, Deputy Minister in the Prime Minister's Department of Religious Affairs, Ahmad Marzuq Sha'ari, said he welcomed the latest ruling of Federal Territories Minister Tan Sri Anwar Musa via the Kuala Lumpur City Hall DBKL in disallowing liquor sale in these shops from October next year. Speaking to reporters after officiating Yapim's My House Inspiration Program in Kampung Parang Puting, Pengkalan Chopper, Kota Baru today, Ahmad Marzuq said the matter not only involved religious demands, but it also received positive feedback in general from civil society, including Muslims and non-Muslims.
Ini sebahagian daripada strategi kerajaan yang holistik, yang perlu didukung oleh semua rakyat, tak kira agama, tak kira bangsa dan tak kira siapa saja pahaman politik dia. Ini bukan agenda politik, ini satu permulaan yang baik. Walaupun begitu, kita akan cuba dan berhasrat untuk semua dilaksanakan perkara ini, bukan saja di peringkat wilayah.
Ahmad Marzuq also said that Malaysia is still slightly behind other countries such as Singapore in terms of controlling the sale of liquor. The setting up of the National Digital Economy and Fourth Industrial Revolution, or 4IR Council, shows the government's seriousness to ensure that the growth of digital economy is inclusive by fully harnessing the 4IR technology. The Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission, or MCMC, said the council, whose establishment was announced by Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin recently, would serve as the highest administrative body for the setting up of policies and implementation and monitoring of the nation's strategies and initiatives for the digital economy and 4IR. In a statement today, MCMC said the provision of inclusive and solid connectivity through various government efforts would attract more local and foreign investors to invest in the country to drive economic growth and promote the people's well-being. It said the government was also committed to emphasizing education as an important investment to improve the people's quality of life and narrow the digital gap. MCMC said this is evident from the government's 500 million ringgit allocation for next year's under budget 2021 to ensure connectivity in 430 schools throughout the country. It added that an allocation of 7.4 billion ringgit is also provided by the government for 2021 and 2022 to expand broadband services, particularly in the rural areas. This edition of News at 10. In our top story, Malaysia records highest ever number of COVID-19 recovery cases. I'm Jessica Lee. Stay tuned to Berita RTM and have a pleasant evening.